Well, good morning, Mr. Secretary General and fellow ministers. It has been 10 years since a dozen countries mobilized in the global coalition to defeat ISIS. By the end of 2014, that coalition's membership had grown to more than 60 countries. Today, our coalition is 87 members strong. About a third of those members contributed forces to the coalition's military campaign, Operation Inherent Resolve. I was proud to help lead that fight in uniform as commander of U.S. Central Command. I'm glad to see those valued partners represented here this morning. By working together, we achieved tremendous success against a cruel terrorist adversary that in 2014 had seized a vast swath of territory across Iraq and Syria. We meet here today to salute our success, to reflect on the tremendous sacrifices of this fight, and to ensure greater security and stability in the future. This coalition's work goes on, and we move forward with the benefit of hard-earned lessons of the battle against Daesh. Those lessons come not just from the past decade, but from more than 25 years of resistance to the ideological stream that led to ISIS. So let me highlight 3 lessons that will be key to our ongoing success in global counterterrorism. First, we must remain vigilant and resolute amid the ongoing threat of transnational terrorism. Today's strategic environment is very different from that of 2014. ISIS remains focused on us, but the threat from ISIS and other terrorist groups is now one of several strategic priorities for us. We're tackling a range of key challenges, including bullying from the People's Republic of China and Russia's reckless invasion of Ukraine. But as we do so, we must not lose sight of the threat that ISIS still poses. We must not lose sight of the threat that ISIS still poses. So this ministerial underscores our shared vigilance and our shared resolve. Second, we have learned that our greatest strength comes from our collective response to ISIS. Like other global terrorist groups, ISIS plots to make us overextend ourselves. If any one of us were to confront ISIS in every region of the globe, we could exhaust our resources and our will, and that would play into their hands. But our coalition has undermined their strategy to outlast us. Together, we've shared the responsibility for the territorial defeat of ISIS in Iraq and Syria. And together, we have the global presence and resources to confront ISIS wherever it may emerge. And I should note that our discussions today about West Africa and Central Asia will focus on expanding our efforts to counter key ISIS affiliates. And that brings me to a third lesson, which is the importance of adaptability. And over the past 10 years, we have continually re-evaluated the threat posed by ISIS and adjusted our strategy to most effectively counter the group's resurgence. Last month, alongside our Iraqi counterparts, we announced the phased transition of Operation Inherent Resolve. We'll talk today about what that process means for the military mission and for our ongoing security partnership with Iraq. And meanwhile, key ISIS affiliates beyond the Middle East pose increasingly dangerous threats, especially ISIS Sahel, ISIS West Africa, and ISIS Khorasan. And just as we've adapted our strategy in the past, I look forward to talking today about coalition plans to counter those rising ISIS factions. For 10 years, this coalition has tackled the scourge of ISIS. Our success stems from our resolve, our commitment to working together, and our willingness to adapt. These core elements will remain at the heart of the next phase of our mission. Thanks again for your leadership and your solidarity, and I look forward to our mission. Thanks again for your leadership and your solidarity, and I look forward to our discussion today. And with that, let me turn to Secretary General Rutte for his opening remarks.
Secretary Austin, thank you for organizing this Defeat ISIS Defense Ministerial. And I'm honored that we can host this important 10th anniversary event here at NATO headquarters. And I believe it is also fitting. NATO is strongly committed to countering terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. 10 years of the coalition is an important reflection point. The coalition has done extraordinary work over the years. And I welcome that 5 years after the defeat of ISIS in Iraq and Syria, the reduction of the ISIS threat in Iraq has led to a planned transition of the coalition's military mission in Iraq to bilateral security partnerships. But we must not take our eye off the ball. The continuing violent attacks by ISIS affiliates and other terrorist groups in Syria and Iraq, as well as across the Sahel, Eastern Africa and Europe, underline that terrorism remains a persistent threat. And it is a threat that is evolving. There is an increase in lone wolf attacks. Terrorists are increasingly using new technologies. And the epicenter is moving southwards into the Sahel, a region which is now accounting for almost half of all deaths from terrorism. At the NATO summit in Washington this July, allied leaders agreed a new action plan on NATO's role in the international community's fight against terrorism. We also appointed a special coordinator for counterterrorism last year and a special representative for the southern neighborhood this year. In the Middle East and North Africa, NATO continues to support our partners in their fight against terrorism. NATO's mission in Iraq is the cornerstone of our engagement in the region. And thanks to close coordination with the United States and all our allies, NATO's mission in Iraq will continue after Operation Inherent Resolve as a non-combat advisory mission to strengthen Iraqi security institutions. Additionally, Jordan, Mauritania and Tunisia already benefit from NATO defense capacity building packages, each with a strong counter-terrorism dimension. Other partners in the region also benefit from counter-terrorism training and exercise opportunities in areas ranging from battlefield evidence to border security and awareness of chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear threats. Beyond our work with individual partners, NATO is engaging through the Mediterranean Dialogue and Istanbul Cooperation Initiative partners to improve civilian military cooperation and support broader efforts in fighting terrorism. And of course, we coordinate closely with other international organizations, including the UN, the EU and Interpol. Dear colleagues, NATO is committed to stepping up its efforts to counter global terrorism in line with the goals and aspirations of this coalition. So thank you, and I look forward to our discussions and consultations today. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, and I think we can pause now for the media to depart.